advice, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't have advice right now. That she's always right. Just like Sky said, they're gonna say some dumb stuff sometimes, and you just can't respond emotionally. Like you're like, what are you saying? Like what are you talking about? But you just can't respond emotionally. That's what I would say. Like, because if not, you put not that you put yourself at their level, but that's what I would say. Don't respond.
I don't mean this jokingly, but in the first 2 weeks of your marriage, have you had any serious clashes, or have you?
No, just misunderstandings. Just because I don't clarify enough. Like, I have a thing that's going on, but she doesn't know. So I would communicate as much as you can with her, as much as you possibly can, because she doesn't know what you're thinking. You don't know what she's thinking. So you both think that you're going the same way, but it's just we haven't had fights, but just misunderstandings. Like, you said this, but I really meant that, but that's what I would say.
All right, very good. Anyone else? 2 more. Let's just do 2 more. George.
Okay, so, one of the things that I've gotten to know you throughout the years, Nathan, is you're very reserved and you're a very private guy, which I respect a lot because it shows that you know how to, you're not an emotional guy, just, wearing your emotions on your sleeve, and that's a good thing. You're both coming into this with, I guess for a lack of a better phrase, baggage, habits, good and bad. And as you're going on your marriage, you're going to have to sort out the stuff that you used to do as when you were single. You're going to have to stop doing those things. You're going to have to communicate when before it was like, I don't want to communicate. I'm just going to do what I want to do. And now communication is key. It really is key, because it's like Josh was saying, you're so used to just doing and going and stopping when you choose to without reason or giving reason. Now you have to. Now there has to be a foundation that's set, and so that you both are on the same page, because what's going to happen is one's going to lag, start to drag behind or go forward, and you're not going to be on the same page. It's going to be vital that you communicate and you start to read between the lines as well, Nathan. Read between the lines, because there's going to be times where, I got to stop doing that. Even though, she might not jab you and tell you or whatever, or, you just read between the lines in the sense of saying, I got to pick up the pace here, or I got to stop doing that. And you just got to align yourself to your marriage, exactly what you need to do.
That's great, George, because marriage is fluid, isn't it? In other words, you're still having to do in your marriage what you're telling him to do
every day. Yeah.
It never ends. One more. Let's do one more. Ernie.
I had the privilege of knowing your future father-in-law. And when you marry somebody, you marry their family. And so the best thing that you can do, obviously, is to develop an even better relationship with him. Try to get him saved, and there's a lot to work with there. Her mom, and so that goes for all of us, is to try to be there for them. And as you take care of them, you're taking care of your wife. And if they have issues, whatever else, and even with you, you try to solve those. And you try to make it to where you are not only a resource for them, not only an example to them, but you're a blessing to them. I mean, you make a concerted effort, and the more you do of that, the more your wife is going to appreciate you.
Amen. All right. Okay, that's it. Now you'll succeed.
Yeah.
All right, I want to talk about this coronavirus. I have a number of thoughts about it, a number of concerns. I'm going to make a brief presentation to the church this morning before I preach, to try to calm the irrationality that's connected with this without sounding flippant. I don't want to come up and say, look, blow this off, it's no big deal. We have to be concerned like we normally are, but this is, at least as far as now is concerned, it's being blown way out of proportion. The chances of somebody contracting coronavirus coming to church is right on the edge of zero. Children do not get coronavirus. Of the tens of thousands, I'm not sure, I don't have the number of China, but it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 to 90,000 cases of coronavirus. 597 are children, one has died. So the parental, irrational fear that my children are going to die from coronavirus is irrational, just that. It's unnecessary. If you're going to be afraid of that, then don't come to church, because the chances are more you'll be killed in a traffic accident on the way. Seriously. How many of you know how many people have died from coronavirus in the United States? But no, I don't want to hear it. I just want to know how many, and that number's wrong, by the way. How many of you know how many have died from coronavirus? The reason you don't know is because it's not in the media. If they put it in the media, it would calm the fears. But the media is trying to gin this up as much as they can. I think there's a political agenda in doing research on coronavirus. It's amazing how anti-Trump the articles are. It spun my head this morning when I was looking at some more of them. The number right now is between 40 and 50. People have died in the United States of America, a population of 320 million. That many have passed away and died. None of them are children. The average age of the majority of those who died, there's a few, I think one or two in the 50 and 60 age range, is over 80. The reason children don't get coronavirus is because they have strong immune systems. You can be in an environment where the flu is, and if you have a strong immune system, it fights it back. And if you do get sick, it's not lethal because your immune system continues to battle it off and fight it off. That's why even in China, one child has died. That's it. So what are we doing running around terrified that our children are going to die from coronavirus? And again, I'm speaking present tense. I'm not saying that this isn't going to turn into the end of the world, but as far as right now is concerned, it isn't that. It just simply isn't. Now, okay, I had Ernie put this together for me. Ernie, if I'm reading it wrong, correct me. The flu, the common flu that we have every year, we have a flu season, right? Every single flaming year we have a flu season. We have a period of time, usually most of our churches do, when attendance is down because people get sick. In the U.S. alone, the flu has caused an estimated 34 million Americans. What time period is this, Ernie? Since last October?
Yes.
Yeah, just since last October, so that's a few months, half a year, a little bit less. The flu has caused 34 million illnesses. 34 million. Right now, the number in the U.S. is a little over 2,000 cases of coronavirus. Majority of those are in the elderly. 34 million cases, 350,000 of them have been hospitalized, and 20,000 deaths. Why aren't you freaked out about that? The media doesn't communicate that as a way of calming everybody down because they want to gin up as much fear as possible. Let me read that to you again. Since October, 34 million people have been diagnosed with influenza or the common flu. 350,000 have been hospitalized and 20,000 have died in America since October, and 45 or so deaths from coronavirus in the last few months. It's estimated that there have been, is this last flu season, Ernie? The 1 billion figure?
Yes, and let me give you this right here, and that change right there.
Okay. All right, 1 billion cases worldwide of influenza, 93 million, 9.3 million to 45 million cases in the U.S. per year. Now we're getting off of since last October. This is average per year. 9.3 million to 45 million cases of the flu every year. The kill rate, 46,000 people die every year on average from the flu. We come to church, we go eat, we don't even think about this. So I'm just trying to give some perspective. Since 2018, over 100,000 people have died from the flu. Coronavirus, or COVID-19 as it's technically called, there are 153,000 cases worldwide, 2,508 cases in the U.S. as of March 14th, 2020. So you compare those numbers and you have to ask, what is driving this? Why are we so flipped out about this and we're not flipped out 100 times more because of the common flu? Worldwide, we have a population in the world, it's hard to grasp the number, but approximately 7.4 billion people in the world, and worldwide, as of today, or yesterday, there were 153,523 cases of coronavirus, 2,508 cases in the U.S. Worldwide, remember what I said, 100,000 have died in the U.S. from influenza since 2018, 46,000 deaths per year, which is 0.1% of those who contract it, 0.1%. So 5,789 deaths worldwide in a population of 7.4 billion people. Each one of those is a tragedy. We feel terrible for anyone who dies for any reason. 5,789 deaths. Again, 50,000 people die from road accidents in America every year. So quit driving. If you're going to be that flipped out over taking a risk that you might die from, then don't drive. Don't even sleep in bed, because 500 people die every year getting out of bed. Death rate of coronavirus is in many places less than 1%. And as I said, children don't die from it. One case in China out of the 80,000+ cases total, and the several thousand that have died. And again, elderly are particularly at risk. 18% of the deaths are people 80+ because their immune system is weak. And they have other diseases, and it's not uncommon for someone to contract the flu, but they die, but not from the flu, but the flu exacerbates other physical problems that they already have. It just depletes their energy. They can't deal with, their weakened immune system can't deal with the other problems they have. How many of you remember the swine flu? Do you remember that? Okay, consider the numbers from the swine flu. The World Health Organization declared it in April of 2009 as a pandemic. The World Health Organization declared the swine flu H1N1 as a pandemic. President Obama, 6 months later, declared it a national emergency. And during that time, 20,000 were hospitalized, 1,000 were dead. 60 million Americans have been infected by swine flu. Right now, 2,500. 60,300,000 hospitalized, and between 2009 and 2010, 18,000 died. So that was something to be concerned about. That was something to shut churches down over. Or possibly, that was something to be legitimately concerned about because of the sheer numbers. So those are the numbers. We are not taking the position of canceling our church services, and I won't for now. I'm watching, I'm paying attention. I just don't subscribe. The Bible says, do not forsake the assembling of yourselves together, as the habit of some has become, especially as you see that day approaching, the day of the Lord. So this is when we need to be gathered together in light of what's going on in the world, so that God's business can continue and people can be well informed. The spirit of revelation can equip people on how to live for God right now. The way I analyze this, again, we don't know. I'm a pastor. I have a very serious responsibility to shepherd the church of God, and I take that seriously. I know that what I say here to you men and what I say to my church is going to carry a lot of weight. So I am plugged in to everything that the World Health Organization and the CDC is saying. I'm aware of the cautions that are being projected state to state and city to city. But also I am functioning from a position of what's reality and giving my advice concerning that. So one idea that I have is that this may very well be a shot over the bow by God, right? Showing us what's coming. And you'll hear a little bit more about that in my sermon. The first plague was the water turned to blood. That was an annoyance. It was an irritation because they had other ways of getting water. The Bible says they dug holes and got water that way. So this was an irritation. Flies were annoying. I hate flies. If there's one in my house, I can't. I'm tormented. It goes from that, right? And they escalate all the way up until the death of the firstborn. So this could be a shot over the bow for the church to wake up. I believe in the imminent return of the Lord Jesus Christ, and the church needs to wake out of their slumber. This is not a time to function in fear, but in revelation. And I can't say that nobody in our church will ever get sick, but I can say that God protects the righteous from the plagues. Right? Noah, the children of Israel in Egypt, the 10 plagues didn't touch them. I'm not going to run around in fear. If you choose to run around in fear and hide in a cave like whatever, you can be my guest. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be here in church preaching the gospel. Until otherwise. I mean, if things change, and they could, everybody's asking about our conference. Conference is on as far as today is concerned. If it gets to where the state, and they have different cities and different states have banned gatherings, we'll go to split services. If they say you can't have a gathering of more than 250 people, then we'll have 2 services. And we'll announce that, communicate that to the church. People whose last names begin from A to M, for example, can go to the first service, and the rest can go to the second service, something like that. Conference, we'll see. But, on the other hand, I think the United States has the most proactive scientists in the world. They're working on a vaccine. Once the vaccine is discovered, it'll be mass-produced and distributed. And even if there's no vaccine, these things have a way of spreading and then dying. So anyway, my position is I'm not going to run around terrified in fear. I'm going to keep living the way I've been living. And if you think that I'm being unwise, that's between you and yourself. I'm not going to acquiesce to irrational fears and steps that I don't think are in any way connected with reality. You're just not. If you're going to be afraid that your little mijita is going to get the coronavirus, then don't get in a car and drive anywhere. We take risks in life. Every time you get in a car, you're taking a risk. Somebody can run a red light, T-bone you, and you all go into eternity. Right? Anything can happen at any time. So I'm not going to, what I'm saying to you, I'm being a little more transparent here. I'm going to dial this back and be a little nicer. But I'm vexed. This whole thing has me vexed, as it does with our fellow leaders and pastors. And other pastors in our fellowship may decide otherwise, but I'm the pastor of this church, and this is where we're going to go and how I feel we need to head. So, Bernie, do you have anything to add to that? Bernie prepared a some of this material for me, and he's always plugged into these kind of things.
You know, Pastor Richard and I have been trying to implement as many precautionary measures. And
whether they're necessary or not, just to allay people's fears.
That's right. And so we've been conversing with you. We've been instituting things. We've been working with the youth ministry. We started that on Friday, yesterday. When people come into church today, before they can come in, our security team, ushers, will make sure that they first get some hand sanitizer, right? You know, we have already told people, instead of shaking hands, let's go ahead and do the, what is it called?
Fist bump or nothing.
Fist bumps or whatever.
Don't touch.
Or nothing, yeah. Or you just smile and wave. That's what we have on our website. And so Joe Russell, he's already done a great job in having our website have all sorts of precautionary measures that we're doing. We put in your notes. And so we're doing all that we can. And obviously we will also let people know if they are sick. I mean, listen, we have some people that, I've only got a little bit of sniffles, or I'm already okay just coughing a little bit. Well, if you have some of that, the rest of the people don't know.
Yeah.
So it's okay to stay home.
Well, I'll make that very clear today, that if anyone is, when I'm making these statements to the church, I'm going to say that if anyone is sick, you need to go home right now. If your children are sick, if their snot has color to it, or they have a fever, you need to take them home, because it's very selfish to bring them, because you're going to freak out other people. Nursery workers need to be alerted to make sure children don't have temperatures. And like I described a second ago. So we're going to make that very clear, because we have people that, you know, they want to be insured so bad they'll come sick. We've got to knock that off for now.
So on the other side of that, you know, yesterday, talking about nursery, I went to the nursery to get some plants for the front of our church. It was so packed out. I mean, there was people everywhere getting the latest of the trees, everywhere. And then you ask them, see you at church tomorrow. Well, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to. You know, it's not. Yet you're here. You know, so.
And in restaurants.
Yeah, and the restaurants were packed yesterday. Many of the restaurants were packed yesterday. People getting menudo, whatever the case may be. So when people want to do something, you know, some people may say, "Oh, they're not doing that."
There's another agenda, and that is shut the church down. Right? So they're not shutting restaurants down. I flew in from London yesterday on my way back from Namibia. The airport was absolutely jammed. I've never seen it so crowded with people coming back from Europe. There were probably 3,000 to 4,000 people in the immigration passport control hall. 2 to 3 hour wait. I didn't have to wait. I had a special access to get through quick. So, but I mean, there's crowds of people everywhere. It's life. It's reality. You can go to a restaurant. You can go to the nursery. But you can't come to church, really. See, that's an agenda. There, our brethren down the street here are all shutting down. We're not. We're going to continue on and preach the gospel. And if someone is sick, they can tune in live stream to encourage them.
And the last thing, Pastor, is just to underscore what you said. I am amazed at how the media continues to jump on President Trump's case, yet when, as you said, the World Health Organization declared H1N1, the swine flu, a pandemic, the United States didn't do anything.
They didn't even declare it a national emergency.
And didn't do anything, and not until 6 months later, when there was already 20,000 Americans hospitalized and 1,000 dead, and then the press, if you've seen the media, just look it up. They were all fawning and just saying, oh, what a great move. But 1,000 had already died, 20,000 hospitalized, and millions infected. Why is that? You have to ask, why is that, you know?
It's an agenda. All right, does anybody have any questions for me?
I just want to add a comment. I was talking to a friend of mine who's pastoring in Colorado, and today is supposed to be his grand opening. He just got a building, fixed it up, it was supposed to open today. And he was telling me, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that.
I would go forward.
Because, well, he said, I mean, even if I have to just preach to my family, I'll preach to my family. I don't know if anybody's going to come because of coronavirus, and he's pastoring in Colorado, and they're already restricting congregation sizes in Colorado. And so,
Yeah, if it was my guy, I would say open. Preach your family, don't stop.
yeah, that's what I.
And, you know, I have a different philosophy with pioneering churches, and it doesn't mean that everyone else is wrong or bad or evil for what they do. When we plan a church, we get a building, and you have a Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night schedule. Whether anybody comes or not, that's what you start with, that's what you stay with, and eventually it'll fill up. A lot of churches are planning guys out, Sunday morning only, Bible study Wednesday. I don't subscribe to that. So these guys need to go in, dive in, all guns blazing, full pedal to the metal. And again, I've experienced pioneering 4 churches, so that's what we've always done. And that works best. And in the case of swine, we are going to plant, it should, Jesus not come before conference, we're geared up to plant churches, raise money, and advance the kingdom. Right, very good. Thank you. Anyone else? Any question for me or anything you think I should address to the church? Do you know if this is a problem in the military?
Oh yeah, a lot of things are shutting down, like schools, West Point has shut down, the Naval Academy has shut down. We are currently starting leave, our spring break is right now at the Sergeant Academy. So everyone's gone, but when they come back, it's going to be done online on Blackboard. So they're not going to come to the academy, we're going to be online for the next 2 weeks. Well, actually, they're gone next week, and then the following 2 weeks, we're shutting down the academy. That's education-wise. How it's affecting the base, the rest of them? Well, there's a lot of orders and directives coming out.
Yeah, and a lot of things that are being shut down, like the NBA, March Madness, I think is another one. But the NBA is saying that he's only shutting it down for a month. He thinks that by then it'll, so that's kind of the mentality, whether that's reality or not, but at least that's a little tiny bit encouraging in the way some people are thinking. Schools, my son's fiance, grandson's fiance, they shut down their school in Ohio. They're doing everything online. Schools are being shut down, all of them in Wisconsin. So my grandsons there aren't going to school. They're pretty happy about that. But, I noticed that Mayor de Blasio was refusing to shut down the schools in New York City. I don't like his politics, but the guy's doubling down on that. No, we're not shutting them down. It's unnecessary. So, you've got all kinds of different ways of dealing with it. Anybody else? Any question or any comment? Maybe something your wife has said that she's concerned about that you think I ought to address? You don't keep healthy children at home because of this. That would be absurd. You can tell your wife I said that.
I was just curious, it wouldn't, like, when you take it as far as, don't shake hands and all that, wouldn't that kind of...
It does, but, I am acquiescing to a little bit to people's irrationality. But if someone's going to say, if people are going to be touching and hugging, I'm not coming to church, then I'll cut out the hugging and the kissing and the making out in the hallway. In Argentina, we have major problems because men kiss men as a greeting, and men kiss women. I'm standing in the church there greeting people with Juan Pablo, and it would be like, Sky, you and your wife come in, and the way that he would greet your wife is to kiss her on both cheeks. It's crazy over there. So it's crazy. Yeah, you gotta cut out all the making out in the hallway. But yeah, we're trying to temper that. I think it's rational during flu season to say, look, you probably should not kiss and hug and have your hands all over other people. Use sanitizer. If 45,000 Americans have died from the flu since October, then take precautions. Like you put a seatbelt on, like you take normal precautions anywhere. So that's not, I think that's wise more than it is acquiescing to irrationality. Anyone else? Yeah.
Do we know how many people have already recovered?
Yeah. 74,000 of all cases worldwide have fully recovered, and the rest will recover, most, except, the death rate. Ernie, you can help me. The death rate, well, let me read them to you, actually. Okay. I don't have the figure, but I did read it earlier. If it's 153,000 cases worldwide, 78,000 have recovered fully. They've gotten it, recovered. And so we have to say that the rest statistically are on their way to recovery. Children 0 to 9 have less than 0.01% chance of dying from it. So it's really beyond negligible. Like I said, one case in all of China, with all of their tens of thousands of cases, and then it escalates from there. If somebody 80 and older gets it, the mortality rate is 18%, so it escalates. And then it doesn't go to more than 1% until the age of 50. So from the age of 0 to the age of 50, it's 0.09 on average. So that's so negligible. If you get it, you won't die from it. If you have somewhat of a healthy immune system and you don't have other diseases or respiratory problems, the chances are you're not going to die. Is everything I've said relatively true, Dr. Reyna?
Yeah, no, definitely everything you're saying.
Would you add anything to what I've said?
No, we're just taking a more precautious. I
Yeah.
think it just
Like
one thing led to another, and everyone's just kind of just covering.
Yeah.
Since one person did it, everyone feels like they have to do it. Also, and it's kind of just like a domino
Yeah.
effect.
So
That's
what
kinda happening
we have to
there.
do as a church, and
I
what
think it just
depending on
be
you men to
precautious.
do,
Yeah,
is put the brakes on all the panic.
yeah, just be precautious. Wash your hands, like you said. Kind of do some small things to kind of curb the spread a little bit.
So when you get, you deal with, you're a pediatrician, so you deal with children
Yes, sir.
and you diagnose them with the flu. How many years have you been a doctor?
10 years.
10 years. And so you deal with multiple diagnoses of the flu every year with children.
Yeah, definitely.
And how many children in your 10 years of experience diagnosing children with the flu have died?
That I personally have taken care of?
Yeah.
None that I personally
Okay,
taken
so
care
there
of.
you go. So the flu death rate, even the one that I described since last October, is not in children. Children don't die from the flu. Would you say that's not never, but it's very rare?
It happens, but yeah, just more than what's transpiring now.
Yeah.
More kids die from the flu. And there have been cases, I've seen them, but not personally as a physician taking care of a kid that has died from the flu. I've seen them, other doctors that have kids die from the flu, but it's pretty rare too. They're usually with they have other diagnoses.
Yeah,
and
other
other
sicknesses.
symptoms, yeah.
Yeah. Josh?
Pastor, I obviously agree with everything you're saying. With what's going on though on the other side of the Atlantic, with them closing like Spain, our churches can't function and stuff like that. What would you say to that?
Well, still, the numbers are not what we've seen with normal flu in those countries. I don't know what to say. I mean, I know the whole nation, I've never seen this in my lifetime. We should have seen this in 2009. We should have been in a state of panic legitimately with the hundreds of thousands of cases and the tens of millions of people that died from it worldwide. But we didn't. Because the media didn't drive it. They're driving this. I think President Trump has to acquiesce to some degree to the media, and I think he's striking. Every time he tries to calm people, they slam him. Like, look, we're going to get a grip on this. If he just says something like that, they clobber him because he's ignoring the problem. He's not taking this seriously. So I think he's doing everything that he can. I don't have any criticism about any of the measures that he's taken. And I do think he has to acquiesce politically to some degree to the media and the hysteria. But I think at the same time, he's got the CDC working very hard overtime trying to produce a vaccine for this. Ernie?
And obviously, the most important thing is prayer. And I thank God that President Trump
Yes.
declared today as a national day
Yeah.
of prayer.
Pastor, has Pastor Mitchell taken different approaches?
Same as I'm doing. I was with him in Namibia. We worked on this presentation together. He's doing exactly what I'm doing. He doesn't believe in shutting anything down, canceling a single outreach for now. canceling services, dialing back on services, dialing back on anything. So he just texted me the sermon he's going to preach this morning, so I can't wait to read it. George.
You know, Pastor, I think we should look at this as an opportunity to
That's a brilliant statement.
people getting attention. I mean, when people get into panic, you know, this should be an opportunity to preach. You know, I've had a couple of instances where people come to me and I tell them, you know, exactly the truth. I see this, it's not as bad as, the media doesn't give people hope.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're blowing panic.
Yeah.
There's no hope being said.
And if any hope is trying to be projected, they slam it.
Well, I
They
mean,
try to silence it.
I was even thinking, I've seen some of these news and I've seen that, and why don't we, I don't know if there's a way, but I think we can send them an email and ask them questions. How many kids have died in China? Can you say this over the news? If it's as bad as you say it is,
Yeah.
you know, how many people, you know, how many deaths, you know, so that they could get off their illusion
Yeah.
and start thinking rationally.
Yeah.
Because I mean, every news that I read, they're all running, and nobody's chasing them.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm going, wow, you know, it's amazing, you know. But I think if we just ask certain questions,
Yeah.
they have to stop and think.
But again, back to the opportunity that you're referring to. My wife we were deplaning yesterday in Dallas, and Renee got to talking to a woman, and she said that she has a daughter 3 months pregnant, and she's crying constantly in fear. That's where all this hysteria is driving people to hopelessness, despair, and fear. And what better atmosphere to preach the gospel?
Yeah.
So we need to be witnessing and sharing our faith and bringing people to church. And go ahead and finish.
You know, another thing was I keep telling people, you know, I even had some Christians tell me, you know, and I tell them, I mean, this is a time to stand
Yes.
in who our God really is. I mean, if our God is not powerful enough to keep us from dying from this thing like everybody's running from, then he's not God.
Yeah.
You know, it's that simple. You know, who do we serve? Are we serving the real God that we put our lives on? You know, and I mentioned to some people that tell me from the church, I mentioned Nick and Tony. I says, look, to me, that's our examples. They were right in the middle of where it all happened, and they chose not to run. To me, I'm thinking, in their minds, I think they're right on. They have their little girls, they have their kids, and I'm thinking...
And they could come home. I mean, if they said...
They were giving the option,
Yeah.
and instead, their wives and their little girls, and this man chose to say, no, we're staying here. Why did they stay there? I asked you, because they're trusting the God that they're there for. They're literally giving their lives to this God. So therefore, they trust Him. And I by that, I see nothing happening to them.
Amen. Good comment. Anyone else?
Pastor, not to change the subject, but I know that you're not more prone to the coronavirus through service and volunteerism. I have a wedding that's happening tonight, and I need men to help with the cleanup. And I don't discriminate against married men. I'm married, Gabriel's married, and it doesn't excuse you from helping just because you're married. Doesn't mean, you know, I'll just walk out the door. The single guys will do it. Right after this, I need all the chairs put into the fellowship hall, please, from this room.
I think Craig enjoys changing the subject. Good opportunity to take part. Give him a hand. I think maybe everybody on this side, or everybody on that side, or a mix of everybody, get all those chairs over there quickly and help Craig out. Amen. All right, let's stand. Worship. Lord, Craig, will you hold this in prayer? Let's pray for our services today. They're going to be critical what God does this morning in our service. Please help us. Let's worship and then Lord, Father, we thank you, Father.